Welcome to another episode of Tween Book Bites here at the Scott County Public Library in Georgetown, Kentucky. I am Kelly. This is Mary Lou. We've unintentionally switched sides today, so it's a little weird, so we'll see how this goes. But today we are talking about, talking to you is what about came out of my mouth. We're talking to you.
We're going to talk about
fantasy
books. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have a dragon visiting us today. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fun colors. Oh, yes. Fantasy. It's always been one of my favorite genres, and you all seem to check it out a lot, too.
A lot, too. It's the shelves are really feeling your presence because I'm trying to find books to recommend to kids. I'm like, read this one. Oh, it's not there. Oh, let's read that one. Oh, it's not there. So they're all checked. That's good. That's good. We're really glad.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of the stuff I wanted to talk about today was gone. I couldn't talk about it. So I had to find other stuff. But that's all right. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I just said sure when you asked me which I should do. So that was a very helpful answer, wasn't it? Yeah. I'll go first. That's fine. I'm saving my absolute favorite for last.
Of course. That's always the best.
Then the other two that I'm going to talk about today, I liked probably about the same. They're both really good. But, oh, man, that third one. So good. Okay. So we'll do this one first. I finished this just last night. This is called Thornwood by Leah Cypess. I thought it was Cypress at first. It's not. It's Cypess.
Cypess?
Yes, I'm assuming. Yeah. This is the first in a series called Sisters Ever After. And it is the story of Sleeping Beauty's younger sister, Bryony. Most of you didn't know that Sleeping Beauty had a little sister, did you?
No.
No?
Nope.
So, Rosalind, Sleeping Beauty, on her 16th birthday, she, touches the spinning wheel, pricks her finger, everybody in the castle goes to sleep. Bryony wakes up and is like, I don't know what's happening. The last thing I remember, I was walking out of Rosalind's room, and then there's nothing. I don't remember anything. And she wakes up, and there's a fairy godmother. It's Rosalind's fairy godmother sitting in front of her spinning gold out of wool. And she's like, well, I didn't expect you to wake up. Okay. And, Bryony is like, I'm awake. Is everybody else awake? Oh no. Gotta go find everybody. So she goes, and she happens to see Prince Varian kiss her sister awake, which is weird. Nobody should have woken up before Rosalind. But, yeah. And then she meets another dude named Edwin. She's ripping apart Rosalind's 16th birthday cake, which was, suspended in time like everybody else, so it's still totally fresh, even though it was supposed to be 100 years. It's apparently been, centuries, so it's been way longer. Wow. Yeah, but this cake is still pristine, so she's, eating the crap out of it.
She's hungry.
She's punching holes in it. She is just taking her anger out on this cake, and Edwin's like, okay, I like this. And she's like, I don't know you. Who are you? And so it comes out, the poor little Edwin hid in the castle. Most of the people that worked in the castle did not come to work that day, the day that Rosalind turned 16 and pricked her fingers, because they were like, I have all kinds of family down in the town. I'm not coming and leaving my loved ones for 100 years. They'll all be dead. So they just didn't show up to work. So there's not very many people in the castle anymore. And Edwin did not work in the castle, but he snuck in that morning because he's like, man, 100 years? That blacksmith I work for will be dead. That'll be great. He's mean. So, yeah. And so that's the premise, that Rosalind has awoken. Her prince gave her a kiss. And, but the Thornwood, from the title, the crazy thorny patches all around the castle, it's still there, and it's trying to get in. It's trying to get into the castle. It's peeking through all the windows and poking people and trying. It's bad. But so they don't know why, because theoretically Rosalind's awake. The prince kissed her. It should be going away. They should be saved, but they're not. And so that is the great mystery that they have to solve.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was really fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I like retold fairy tales.
Yes.
Well, let's let's just change directions like 150,000 degrees and go to the last kids on Earth. And I read this book because it just looks ridiculous, and it's really popular, and I wanted to see why everybody's reading it so much. This is the first of a series, and I think there's now 6 in the series. There may
At
be
least.
more. I don't know.
And a graphic novel spinoff.
Graphic novel, a spinoff, and it is a Netflix series as well. So these books have been around for a while, but I think the Netflix series has made them super popular. So they're like, I don't think any of them are on the shelf right now at all.
Not
Anyway.
often.
Last Kids on Earth, and it was written by Max Brallier, and they're illustrated by Douglas Holgate. And there's a lot of pictures in this book, and they're hilarious. So the premise of this book, and I'm going to be brief because there's not a lot of substance here. This is mostly fun. Jack is a 12-year-old boy who his parents are dead. He's been an orphan pretty much all of his life, and he's just gone from foster care home to foster care home. He's bounced around, moved every year, and the family he's with now, they took him in because they wanted somebody to do lawn work for them, and so he just spends a lot of time working in the yard. And he's never really had many friends because he's moved so much. But in this town he's been here for a year, and he's developed a really good friendship with this guy named Quint, who is a real science nerd. And then he has this super crush on this girl named June Del Toro. She is the editor of the school newspaper, and Jack is the photographer for the school newspaper. And he's got a terrible crush on her. I think maybe he might even be 13. He's going into those like. He's 13. He's going to those middle school years. So anyway, it's never explained in the first book. I haven't read the rest of them. Maybe they explain it later. But one day, the world is taken over, or at least suburban America is taken over by zombies and monsters. Like one day they're there. I'm not there. There's the one day everything's normal, and the next day the town is filled with zombies and monsters. And they're in school when this happens, and the kids, as they're leaving school, they see these buses driven by the military taking their parents away. So like the military's trying to evacuate the town as quickly as possible, and they're taking everybody they can cram onto the bus and leaving. And like these kids get left behind. A few kids. Jack has been on his own for a while. The book opens where he's been out, I think, looking for food or something, and he encounters a blarg, which is this huge person-eating monster, and he's on top of the CVS. And as I was reading it, all I could picture was being here at the library and seeing a blarg on top of the CVS. and Jack's got a weapon. He's surviving pretty well. It's a Louisville Slugger. Only
I was just reading that. That's amazing.
he had splintered the end of the Louisville Slugger, so now it's the Louisville Splinter, right? And he bashes the blarg on top of the head, and he cuts him, but he doesn't kill him, but it's enough for him to get away. But the blarg has smelled Jack, and he's pretty ticked off about getting his head split open. So he is going to be, for the rest of the book, Jack is going to be having to deal with this blarg, and his picture's on the back. He's trying to eat this picture of all the other books in the series.
He's not a pretty looking thing.
He's not. But he finds out that his best friend Quint, this is Jack, there's Quint, is still alive. And the two of them pair up, right? And Jack is obsessed with finding June Del Toro. He just likes her so much. And he's sure she's still alive. There's June Del Toro. And then as they're looking for June, they end up encountering Dirk, the school bully, who of course is still alive. And he's so stereotypical. He's a big kind of a bruiser guy, and he's not very smart, and he's really mean. But you know, these are desperate times, and they call for desperate measures, and new bonds of friendship are formed. And so these guys, they're on a hunt for June. These three team up, and they're fighting monsters, they're fighting zombies, and it's hilarious. The book is just fun. It's just fun. Read it. It won't take you a lot. Yes, fun fantasy.
All right. My next one is Kingston and the Magicians Lost and Found.
Cover.
That's why I picked it up, because it's so good. It's by Rucker Moses and Theo. Gonna butcher that.
I would say Ganji.
Ganji?
Theo Ganji.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize, sir. I've brutalized your name. So, this takes place, our main character, Kingston, He goes by King most of the time. He and his mom are moving back to Echo City in Brooklyn. They moved away. It is, let's see. There is a specific number of dates. There we go. It's been 4 years, 6 months, and 7 days since he's been gone. That's also 4 years and 5 months since we left Brooklyn.
Who is he? I'm sorry.
He is King's father.
Okay.
Because King's father was a magician. And one night, the number of days I just said ago, King's father was doing a show with another magician named the Maestro. They were doing a show at the Mercury Theater, and King's father, Preston, literally disappears through a mirror. And then there's this crazy flash of blue light, and the theater catches on fire, and King's father has been gone since.
Huh.
Yes. So they moved away because his mom couldn't take it, and they moved to the suburbs, but they've come back because the family brownstone, the house, is it's getting pretty close to foreclosure. If they don't do something, they're going to lose it. So King's mom is like, okay, we are getting rid of this magic shop that you all used the first level for because the last time you sold something was literally over a year ago. This is not going to work. So they're going to open up a cafe. And I think it's the next day after they get back. King is walking around with his cousin Veronica, and they go to the pizza place, and they end up running into one of King's old friends, Eddie. Except now he goes by Too Tall, because he's really tall. At one point he's like, oh, no, Too Tall's too formal. Why don't you just call me Tall? It's delightful. And he's like, hey, you have any weird things going on that you noticed? Because King is convinced that his father literally disappeared, like real magic. Not just like, a show magician. Real magic. And, so he's telling Eddie what happened, and he's like, oh man, I thought your dad just like left, and see you all left too. Dang, that's a story. And so they go to the Mercury Theater, and they find up on the marquee where they list all the shows that are happening. There's what appears to be a code, and so King and Veronica and Eddie, or Too Tall, they solve this code. And they end up, they go through this crazy tunnel that, like, switches back and forth, and it's, like, mechanical gears going crazy. And they end up underneath the stage at the Mercury. And, King ends up finding the Magician's Lost and Found, which is this box. He's got this pocket watch that his dad gave him that has 13, not 12, which is part of that code, too. And so, King sticks his watch fixed perfectly on top of this box, the Lost and Found, and it opens, and there is a map inside. And then Eddie falls on top of him because he comes out of nowhere and just goes plop. King's under the stage, and his hand goes through the box, except when he pulls his hand back out, he has no hand.
What?
Yeah, he can still feel it, and like he can touch. He's like shh. And he can feel it, but it's not there. And that's because they have encountered real magic.
Oh, this sounds good. I love this kind of stuff.
There's real magic, and there's this other realm. And so the rest of the book is them continuing to try and find King's dad, and it's really fun. And I think if you've lived in a city, there were like lots of little tidbits about living in Brooklyn that were just really fun. I think you get lots of fun out of that too.
I love that.
Yes, highly suggest.
All right. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about a book called Furthermore.
Yeah.
This has been around for a little while.
So good.
And it's written by Tahira Muffy. I hope I'm also saying her name right. She usually writes books for teenagers, but this is it's a duology, 2 books that she wrote for tweens, and it is fantastic. Her world building is just, she does it all. It's world building, great characters. I mean, she just checks off all the boxes as a fantasy writer. And this is about a girl named Alice, and if you can see in the middle of the picture, a girl whose skin is very white. Her hair is very white. She lives in the land of Farronwood, And it is a land that is saturated with color. Everything is just vivid and bright color. And human beings are all sorts of color. You can see they have, all kinds of color. Most of them have brown skin, but they've got, like they could have purple eyes or orange eyes and all kinds of colors of hair. But she is very odd in that she was born without any color at all. And in this land of color, that makes her kind of an outcast. So the way that this land works is when you turn 12 years old, you kind of spend your childhood cultivating a talent, a special talent that you have. And when you turn 12 years old, you have what's called a surrendering ceremony, where you go before like kind of the town elders and you display your talent. And you get a grade, and then you get a task. And to become a full member of the community, you must complete this task. And sometimes it can take like even up to a couple of years to do the tasks. Well, when it's time for Alice to show her talent, she dances, and she loves to dance. And her father, who disappeared some years ago, he was a town elder, and he's disappeared. He's also kind of
disappearing
like
fathers.
The disappearing fathers. He's gone. And these are all these bracelets that he gave her, and she puts them on and she dances. You can kind of see them on the cover, all these bangles. And she dances her very best, and when she's over, she just knows she's going to get a great score. But when she opens her eyes, there's like this embarrassed silence and then some polite applause. She doesn't even get a grade. She gets a blank card, which means no task, nothing. It's like, come back next year. She's devastated, and she's angry, and she goes home, and she flicks her fork into her brother's hair, and her mother sends her out for her standard punishment, which is to go spend the night with the pigs in the pig pen. And as she's spending the night there, this boy comes to see her. It was her childhood nemesis, Oliver. And he's trying to make friends with her. And he tells her, I know where your father is. And if I have not completed my task yet. And if you will help me complete, if you will not worry about your task, just help me complete my task, I will take you to your father. And she agrees. Okay. He had asked her to do that before she didn't get her talent. Before she didn't get her task. And she just tells him to go away. But after she flunks, she goes, okay, I'll do that.
Fine.
So they end up going into the land of Furthermore, which is all of these are magic lands. And they have to cross these magic barriers on this great search for her father. And she enters into all kinds of interesting worlds and all kinds of challenges. It's fabulous.
It's so good.
It's really good.
And the second book,
which I have not read.
Witchwood, is also fantastic. Oh, I read that one first.
Oh, did you?
I did. Yeah, it's really good. Oliver is one of the main characters in that too.
Yeah. Excellent. Furthermore. And Witchwood. Yeah.
Yeah. Not witch, W-I-T-C-H, but witch.
As in which one?
H-I-C-H,
Yeah.
yes. Her books are just so good.
Have you read her Shatter Me, her teen series?
I read the first one. It was fantastic.
Those are like my favorite covers in the teen books.
Oh, so good.
Covers, yeah.
Okay.
So
for my final book,
she's
like
been
I
talking
said,
about this for days.
This is my favorite. This is the one that the last book bites. I was like, guys, I started a book and it's really good. It's this one. This is The Last Fallen Star by Gracie Kim. It's the first book in the Gifted Clan series. It is another Rick Riordan Presents books because they're all so good. This one might be my favorite, and I've said that about other ones.
Oh
but
my
this
goodness,
one,
you like it better than Tristan Strong? Oh,
it's different.
Okay.
I love Tristan Strong.
I know Tristan Strong,
and I love Paula Santiago. I love them all. But this one, it's just so good. Okay, I'll stop waxing poetic and actually talk about the book now. So, our main character, Riley O, she is a Saddam, means she doesn't have magic, but she lives in a family of magicians, basically. There are 6 clans, hence the Gifted Clans series. Her family is a member of the Gome family, and they are healers. And she's been adopted, which is why she has no magic. But her parents and her sister Hattie, they all have magic, and they run like a clinic as healers. They take care of both the gifted community and just anybody else, other people. it's getting close to both Hattie and Riley's 13th birthdays, and in the Gifted Clans, when you turn 13, you have an initiation ceremony where you have to prove yourself, basically, that you're I keep saying the word gifted, and it's not wrong, but it feels wrong. That you can complete the tasks that your particular clan is best known for. So, it's really upsetting for poor Riley because she didn't have magic. And she's just like, it's all I've really wanted. I know all the words to all the spells. I know everything to do, but I just can't do it. And their mom accidentally spills the beans that, oh yeah, well, there might be a spell that you could use to share your magic with someone who doesn't have any, but it's really dangerous. Of course that doesn't stop them. Why would that stop them? I could share my magic with my sister and it'd be great. So they work together with Riley's best friend Emmett, his mother was a member of the gifted community. She was one of the council members, but she was killed when they were all babies because the 6th clan, the Horangi, they're the scholars, and they were basically like excommunicated. They were banished because they got real power hungry, or so the story goes. So Emmett's kind of got a chip on his shoulder because he's like, God, the gifted community took my mother from me, and now my father is a Saram. He didn't have magic, so now I'm not included in this, and it's bless his heart. He's one of those kids that like tries to be really. He's like, emotions. I just spit everywhere. That's disgusting. I'm so sorry. But he like deep down, he's like super sweet. He's delightful. I love Emmett. And so they work with Emmett, and he helps them get all the things they need to unlock their mom's safe to get to this spell. And, of course they do. And Hattie finishes her initiation. It's great. And they get ready to do the spell. And they're like, no. You can't do that. Riley actually does have magic. She's a member of the Horangi clan. And they're like, what? That's early on in the book. It's hardly even a spoiler. So, from there, they go, they have to fix their mistakes. They're on the run. And then they end up they try to call Magohalmi, the goddess of all creation. Instead, they get the cave bear goddess, who is the Gome family, like, goddess. And Hattie is essentially dead, and in order to save her, Riley has to work with lots of other people that she meets to save Hattie's life.
Now, the Rick Riordan books come from different cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
What culture did you say already what culture this comes from?
I don't know if I did, but it's Korean.
Korean, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah. And it's so good. It's so good. There are these, like, little tiny Pegasus things. Well, I say little. There's this one little Pegasus that's in, like, guarding a library, and it's hysterical because the library entrance is a washing machine. You have to read it. It's so good. It is so good. I need book 2 right now.
Okay, so I'm going to say 2 sentences about this book because I think this series just sort of went under the radar. People read it. I mean, it's gotten read, but I think those of you that are fantasy lovers may have missed this one, and I really like this a lot. And it's called Wizard for Hire, and it's by Obert Sky, who wrote the Levin Thumbs series, I think it's called. Levin Thumps. Levin Thumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, all I'm going to say is we've got another, not just a missing father, but a missing parents. Ozzy, with his parents, like they lived in New York City and then they move out in the country, and then one day his parents disappear. And he doesn't know quite how to find them, so he finds in the newspaper an ad that says Wizard for Hire. And he calls this guy up, and they meet in a cafe. And this, the cover is just so fantastic. You've got this wizardy-looking guy with a pair of high tops.
Except he also looks like the dude.
Yeah, the dude. He does have a wizard hat on his knee, and he's got a bumper sticker that says, honk if you like magic. It's in Oregon, yeah. And what Ozzy's got to figure out is this guy just some eccentric nut who thinks he's a wizard? Is he a charlatan? Is he a fake? or is he a real wizard that just isn't very good? And it's a trilogy. There's 3 in the series. I like many. I've only read the first one, but this was delightful. It just played with every idea of your fantasy stuff. So the last time I want to talk about, I am still reading this. I'm 2/3 of the way through. I really wanted to be finished in time for this, but this is also another one. I think this was probably, I don't know. I do love Furthermore. This is just fantastic. It's called Nightingale, and it's written by Deva Fagan. And this is a completely fantasy world that we live in. It feels a little bit like steampunk. If you're not familiar with steampunk, it was real popular.
I see that in the,
Some years ago, it's not been as popular, but basically a lot of the fantastical or magical things are made of kind of mechanical. There's like, it feels sort of like Victorian England and the kind of beginning of the Industrial Revolution, but there's also fantasy. So there's some of that, but there's also, it feels kind of like Charles Dickens. We got orphans that are being forced into labor, and then it deals with unions, and it deals with labor, and it deals with, anyway, it's just a whole mishmash, but the writer is so good. She weaves it together. It could have been a mess, but it's really good. So our main character is a 12-year-old girl named Lark, and she is an orphan. She lives in this land called Gallant, and Gallant is it is fueled by this stuff called ether, AETHER.
That's very steampunk.
Which is a very mythical kind of substance that lives way out in the stratosphere above the Earth's atmosphere. Not the laughing gas, ether gas, but is that steampunk? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not.
Oh yeah, that's
familiar with
super
that.
steampunk.
So, but it is an ore. It's in the land, and they have to mine it, and then they take the ore and they grind it and grind it and grind it, and then boil it down, and it creates this liquid ether that is extremely valuable, and it powers everything. Provides all the fuel. It's sort of like we might even think, like, is she making some analogies with coal? Because a lot of the land is running out of the ether ore, and it's also very dangerous work. It's very dangerous for the miners, and it's often the orphans and the most poverty-stricken people that work in the factories where they grind the ore, and they breathe it in, and it gets in their skin, it gets in their lungs, gets in their hair, and eventually they just get thinner and thinner. They start flickering, so like they're there and then they're not there, and then until finally they just disappear. They're just gone. They dissolve into the ether sphere. And Lark has been able to avoid working in the factories, but many of the girls in this boarding house with this horrible woman that takes care of them named Mrs. Starvinger. Starvinger. And so one night Lark is breaking into a museum. She's going to steal some artifacts from a museum, some gold from a statue, to try to pay her debt so she can get out of Miss Starvinger's home because she owes her all this money. And when she's in there, she encounters the young prince. Well, she's hiding, so she's watching the young prince take a bottle of ether, and he breaks into this display of a sword, and the sword belonged to the Nightingale, which is this hero or heroine that is sprung up once every maybe 75 years when the land is in dire need and kind of is their savior, like a superhero savior. So you got superhero stuff too. And he pours the ether on the sword. He wants to reactivate the sword of the Nightingale. And Lark watches this, and she's trying to sneak away because she doesn't want the prince to catch her. And she knocks over something, and the prince sees her, and so does the sword. And the sword comes to her because it isn't someone that chooses the sword to become the Nightingale. The sword chooses the Nightingale, and Lark is the Nightingale. Oh, it is so good.
You should show them the back cover too, because that is really
really beautiful. So you see Lark here with her mass of red hair and her mask and her sword, and the prince, and then this is her best friend Sophie, who also is an orphan, but she's a union organizer too. And this is Speckles, who's the villain. I'm not sure who all these characters are. These are two twins from the orphanage, but
And I love you can see a face in the.
oh, I didn't notice that. That must
Yeah.
be the Crimson Knight, who is evil. I
Ooh.
think Speckles is trying to revive him.
Um,
Anyway, it is a page turner. It's a page turner, and that's that.
Excellent.
Good reading this time,
Oh,
guys.
so good.
Yes.
I love fantasy. Next time, I think we're doing animal stories, aren't we?
We are, and that was just going to be like a lot of fantasy too, but
Probably.
featuring
Yeah.
animals.
Maybe,
Some of it.
some realistic animals. But
Yes,
Yeah.
anything animal.
yeah. Yeah.
We'll do that.
That'll be exciting. I'll see you next week for. Well, I've completely lost
You
track. So
probably-
you're going to have to go to our website.
We just did unicorn science, so you're probably crafternooning.
Possibly. I don't know. I film so many things now that I just get confused. So you'll have to go to our website and check out
Don't you
our
wanna tell them
calendar.
about your dragon and unicorn kits?
Well, no, not unicorn, dragons.
Just dragon. Sorry.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
Dragon Take a Mate goes out July 1st. So check that out. See if we have any left by the time this goes up. I don't know. It's a toss-up.
Though this goes out July 2nd.
Yeah, so we'll see. But have fun, guys. We will see you next time.
Happy reading.